pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon, Auburn. It's another beautiful Sunday in this wonderful city of Auburn. This is our 6th Citizens Minutes. My name is Robert Wilkins, and I'll be your host. Benjamin Franklin was quoted, "Without freedom of thought, there can be no such thing as wisdom, and no such thing as public liberty without freedom of speech." Freedom of speech is a principal pillar of a free government. When this support is taken away, the constitution of a free society is dissolved, and tyranny is erected on its ruins. Republics derive their strength and vigor from a popular examination into the action of the magistrates. We had 3 citizens speak at the Citizens Forum, Open Forum at the August 6, 2024 council meeting. First citizen speaking was myself.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Hope the mayor gets well. And Mayor Pro Tem, next time you do some roasting, I'd love to roast the mayor.
On the topics of polls and the results of one particular poll that was conducted on Nextdoor.com. You can be a member if you're in the Auburn area, but you're only for this area. But just being in this area, there's 26,000 Auburn people on that Nextdoor. It has been an excellent forum for Auburn's voice in utilizing the input of Auburn citizens. When you vote, no one with Nextdoor, including the person who put up the poll or any moderators or Nextdoor employees, will ever know who voted and how you voted. The Nextdoor polls are completely now private. It's a great place to express your opinions, such as any suggestions for future polls, questions you might have, please let us know. On March 25th, 2024, Auburn's voice poll, where there were over 2,300 views with 26 comments and 174 citizens voted and participated. There's a max of 6 responses for each poll, we had a max of 6 on this one. What do you perceive as the number one issue in Auburn? Out of 174 who responded, 56% said overbuilding of downtown. Now, I do a lot of Uber Eats, hundreds of them every month. And I have never had someone that I've asked the question, and I've probably asked 1,000 or more. None of them have ever said they like the way the direction of Auburn is downtown. It's they're not happy with it and so forth. And but also 26% said more affordable housing. I know a few months ago there was a new project put up. It was torn down. They put up a new one. It was totally different. It was more like housing, in my neighborhood, where each house was a little different and so forth. And I think that makes a big difference in affordable housing. But those 2 questions comprised of the Auburn citizens' concerns, 82%. Think about that. In 68 meetings that I've attended, these 2 issues have been brought up less than a handful of times. Why? Because our bureaucrats keep the Auburn City Council on less important topics, much that we should spend on a pivotal lawnmower. 6% said aggressive control of private property. 5% said lack of youth recreational facilities. I know we're fixing to have one open, but it's not near enough to deal with the demand of these young minds. 3% said election month date change so students, college students, can be involved and vote. And 3% said improvement of the police relationship in certain areas. I know the area of Ward 1 with Councilwoman Taylor has been brought up several times, and neither the city manager, the mayor, or the chief of police have gone to a meeting in Ward 1. Not sure why, doesn't make a sense. They just want to talk. They believe that we have a great police department, but it's like a football team. There are things that always need to be improved. In the police department, there's some improvement. Even though Mr. Dawson doesn't seem to think there needs to be any improvement, there does. Councilman Dawson, not Mr. Dawson. Second citizen was Susan Bolt, who talked about fairness by the City Council's decision. Susan said,
Tonight I want to talk about fairness. Fairness usually has a component of compromise where one side gets what they want in a way that the other side can't complain about it. Fairness usually treats people with similar circumstances in a consistent manner. With Ordinance 3288, people who are similarly situated have not been treated the same or fairly. Eleanor Roosevelt is quoted as saying, "Justice cannot be for one side alone, but must be for both." Tonight, I want to show the injustice of Ordinance 3288 by showing the city maps for permitted and non-permitted areas for short-term rentals. Green on the screen signifies the permitted areas, gray is the non-permitted areas. On this particular map, if you look on some of the areas, you'll see that houses and lots are divided. You'll see that there are people on one side of the street are not permitted to do short-term rentals, where on the opposite side of the street they are permitted to do short-term rentals. You'll see adjacent properties where one's permitted, one is not. My question is, how on earth is that fair? Next slide, please. On this one, this is the Bent Creek area, and you'll see that the green area on one side of the street, short-term rentals are permitted. On the other side of the street, they are not permitted. I don't understand how that is equitable, how that is justifiable. I don't understand how that is detrimental to NC neighborhoods on one side of the street and not detrimental on the other side of the street. If you'll notice the lake there in that area, it's permissible on one side of the lake and not permissible on the other side. Next slide, please. Here, nope, let's go to the next one, sorry. Okay, this is Sanford Avenue across from Auburn High School. If you see there to the left, that is an apartment community where the zoning splits that apartment complex. So it's permissible in part of that complex, it's not permissible in the other. I could go on, but I am limited by time. The mayor on 3/16/2021 read a statement that said his desire was to preserve the sanctity and integrity of the NC zoning and neighborhoods. Later, he stated that Ordinance 3288 was just a starting point. Neither of those statements have been proven to be true. I come up here meeting after meeting to present you with facts about this ordinance in hope that the STR5 will see that they erred in the decision to pass 3288. I ask you again tonight to work toward a fair and just resolution. Martin Luther King Jr. is quoted as saying, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." My parting thought is a quote by H. Jackson Brown Jr. Live so that when your children think of fairness, caring, and integrity, they think of you.
True. Last citizen was Martha Shamp. Martha said her only concern is protecting the children at our library from pornography. She says, "I do thank you for alerting me to not bring my visual. I do have a rather involved visual."
Mayor Pro Tem Whitten,
Yes.
one quick thing. We do have a rule, it's rule number 6, about visuals. Visuals must be submitted to the city manager by 12 p.m. on the day of council meetings. Otherwise, they may not be shown before the council. So you will see at least one speaker tonight pre-submitted. And absolutely, that's why you'll see them on the screen tonight. Any other visuals have not been approved for this evening because they were not submitted by the noon deadline.
Thank you.
Opened up have graphic and explicit materials. She also said the library is hand in glove with an evil organization, the American Library Association. It is run by a self-professed, publicly Marxist lesbian to promote non-family policies of all sorts. And I believe our library board takes way too many Marxist orders from this group. The ALA, we need to cut ties with them immediately and you not pay any more.
Tim, if I may, I want to be very, very, very clear. The Auburn Public Library is not a member of the American Library Association and does not pay any dues to that organization.
Thank you for that clarification.
Megan, why does the Auburn Library Board, which is under the City of Auburn webpage still have two links to the American Library Association. I'm kind of confused of what you just said. I wish our city manager, Megan, had been professional in her remarks. It seems when bureaucrats, mayor, or the city council can get the upper hand on certain Auburn citizens like Ms. Shamp, too many of them seem to get such gratification. Megan should have informed Ms. Shamp that the Auburn Library recently disassociated itself from the American Library Association because of the action of Governor Ivey and how that happened. So I will explain since she did not. On January the 30th, 2024, WSFA 12, Aaron Davis reported.
Now to some breaking news. The affiliation between the Alabama Public Library Service and the Alabama Library Association are no more. The Alabama Library Association announced it is pulling out of the oldest library association in the world, and it comes amid controversy over certain books on some Alabama library shelves. Political reporter Aaron Davis has reaction to this decision.
Over Alabama's membership with the American Library Association started last September. Some state Republicans shared a concern of Marxist values spreading into public libraries that resulted in the Alabama Public Library Service voting to end their membership with the National Association.
I feel like it's a bit of a manufactured outrage.
Matt Lane represents the Alabama branch of the American Library Association. He says the state ending their membership won't impact local libraries because they have individual memberships. But Representative Susan DuBose believes local branches will also stop paying their dues.
The APLS board has sort of set the standard and that local libraries will look to them for guidance, but that will be completely in their discretion.
Hannah Reese with Clean Up Alabama says ending memberships is not enough. She wants what she calls a complete disaffiliation from the ALA.
It's the APLS having to go through what they've determined to be policy and reflecting on the influence of the ALA and what parts doesn't reflect Alabama values.
A proposed change to the APLS Administrative Code requires local libraries to have public meetings regarding any funding going to the American Library Association. APLS Director Nancy Pack says many libraries already have a public budget approval process.
I have heard it from outside of here that there will be a lawsuit if that particular one with the American Library Association is approved, that there are attorneys who feel that is discriminating against a vendor.
The public will be able to comment on the proposed changes starting tomorrow. Then a public hearing will take place April 30th in Montgomery. Then a vote from the APLS board will follow. In Montgomery, Aaron Davis, WSFA 12 News.
AL.com reported on January the 30th, 2024 concerning a public hearing offering Alabamians the chance to talk about the potential impact of state-mandated changes to public libraries in Montgomery. Alabama Public Reporter Jacob Holmes on July the 17th, 2024 reported that the Alabama Public Library Services code changes become official concerning certain books for kids in our library. Councilmember Bob Parsons responds to Martha Shamp.
To adjourn?
I have
Yes,
just
sir.
a response to Ms. Shamp. My family and I went to the final Auburn Public Library event. It was a Pokemon event. There were activities. You could swap your Pokemon cards. You could make some Play-Doh Pokemon figures. It have some snacks. There were hundreds of people there. Lots of families, lots of kids having a great time. It's off-putting to hear an accusation as vile as what you're saying about the wonderful staff at our library. I hope the audience are listening, and I hope that they're making their own decisions.
One little thing to that, because we do run incoming routes to the city, and Martin Luther King would be one of those, just like East Glen, Morris Mill, those areas, College, South College, North College, and those are run on Fridays. So we do everything we can to make sure that we're collecting all the large and bulky debris, that anyone that puts anything out after the fact, it is collected. So On that area, we did have some people to move out. We did have some things to happen on that side of the street. And so we have dealt with it that way. And if anyone wants to call us for pickup, they missed it, we're here for that service. So we will provide that service the next day. Okay?
Citizens question of the week from John. John says, why do city council members seem to not care as much about the citizens' concern after they get into office? Well, John, I think they do, but once they get in there, they're overwhelmed. I think we have some good council members, but at time passes, they begin to fall in the grips of the bureaucrats controlling wisdom and their reelection by not being as upfront about their beliefs. They seem to lose, I guess you'd say, their individuality. Please make comments or become a guest on Citizens Minutes by going to nextdoor.com or youtube.com. Next council meeting is at 6 p.m. on August the 20th at 141 Ross Street. You should show up or watch on YouTube or listen to WANI radio. Your council is only as good as the information that you, the citizen, gathers. Until Auburn's Voice. Good afternoon, Auburn